So you've made to Siem Reap, Cambodia, and you're rearing to go see the ancient city of Angkor. But there are so many things to see and so much ground to cover. Where do you get started? Well, stay tuned to find out. Hi, my name's JP. I was in Angkor, Cambodia, and I'm traveling the world. Globalites, today I'm going to help you plan your trip to the city of Angkor. I got to spend 3 days in the city and it was just amazing, and I picked up some tips and tricks for you. So today in this video we're going to talk about the costs, transportation, tours and guides, the best times to visit, and what you should prioritize during your time there. What I'm not going to talk about today is what Siem Reap is like, the town that you are going to most likely be staying in. I am not talking today about accommodations. You're going to have to find that in another place. I will be making a video with a few tips about Siem Reap, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to see more from my time in Angkor, I've made a vlog about my bike ride around Angkor one day, and I also made a 3-minute short video with more footage of my time in Angkor. So if you want to go see all of that, go ahead and click up in this card right here. And yeah, but before we get into everything, I just want to clear up something because the term Angkor Wat gets thrown out a lot. Angkor Wat actually refers to the main temple of the city of Angkor. The term Angkor Wat has become synonymous with the city Angkor, but they're actually different things, and today specifically we're going to be talking about what you're paying to see, which is a larger area, the city of Angkor, which also includes Angkor Wat, so don't worry. The city of Angkor was the seat of power for the Khmer Empire and was the largest pre-industrial city in the world. Today, over 2 million people come to visit the ancient ruins, and you are soon going to be joining their ranks. So let's dive into everything you need to know. Let's start with cost. Now, if you are a citizen of Cambodia, the cost to get into Angkor Wat is absolutely free. But if my analytics are right, most of you are actually not Cambodians, so you're going to have to pay something. If you're coming from Siem Reap, you must go through a formal front gate, and when you get there, you're going to have to buy a pass to get in. There are 3 types of passes. You can get a day pass for $20, you can get a 3-day pass for $40, and you can get a week-long pass for $60. And yes, that is US dollars. So you have a lot of options depending on your length of stay. One thing to note about the 3-day pass is that you don't have to use all 3 days consecutively. You can spread them out within a week. Now, another tip is that the front gate offices are open till 6 p.m., but they stop checking for passes at 5 p.m. So if you go and buy your ticket between 5 and 6, you can go actually and watch the sunset without using one of your days on your pass. And this is extremely useful for those of you who are just going to do a day pass, because now you can maximize your time by going to check out the sunset the day before you intend to actually use your pass. So every day you're going to have to go through that same front gate to get your pass punched. But don't put away your pass, because every single temple you go to, there's going to be a security guard looking to see if your pass was punched. So make sure you have your pass on your person at all times, because you don't want to get to a temple and then realize you forgot your pass in your car or your tuk-tuk. Okay, so let's talk about transportation. Siem Reap is actually a 20-minute drive away from Angkor. And also you're going to want transportation because this place is gigantic. It's 400 square kilometers, so you really need something to get you around. So let's talk about all your options. Most physically involving would be renting a bike. Bike rentals are everywhere in Siem Reap, and you can get them as low as $1. Now be warned that the dollar rentals are really shitty bikes. I rented a bike for one day and it did not fit me. If you are an inexperienced cyclist and you don't know what it's like to be on a saddle for a very long time, I would invest in something a little bit more comfortable. And if you're going to do this, bring lots of water and sunscreen, because it's so hot in Angkor and you're exposed to the sun all day long. So just make sure you're hydrated and protected. And one last tip about bike riding, and maybe just in general, bring a headlamp, because if you're staying late or you're going to see the sunset, once the sun actually sets, it's super dark. There aren't any street lamps to light your way back to Siem Reap. And like the only light is the headlights from cars. So you're basically riding without any light at all. So I did have my headlamp with me, and it was a really scary ride, and I don't recommend you do it. I recommend you get back to Siem Reap before sundown. Now let's talk about the motorbike situation, because actually in Siem Reap, they don't really rent motorbikes to tourists. There is like a safety concern because it's a really congested small town for too many tourists to be renting motorbikes and getting into accidents. You can rent, though, electronic bikes. They're $10 a day to rent. They're very slow compared to a motorbike, but if you don't want to pedal all day long, you can rent these to get around and still have the independence like you would with a bike. Now, probably the most common way to get around Angkor is to rent a tuk-tuk for the day. If you approach a tuk-tuk driver on the street, you may be able to negotiate a fee of about $15 a day. That's a really good bargain, and that's most likely not going to be the case if you're going during high season between like November and February, but it's possible. Now, if you're trying to book with the accommodation that you're staying in, likely the accommodation is going to upcharge that. Also, if you want to go for a very early morning visit to Angkor to see the sunrise over Angkor Wat, you'll have to pay a little bit more. So the cheap price would be $20 to go. And having a tuk-tuk driver is nice because they're kind of like your personal escorts for the day. They go with you to every single temple. So the downside with tuk-tuks is that they don't have air conditioning, but cars do. So if you think you're not going to be able to handle the intense heat, maybe renting a private car is the way to go. Because every time you have to go to another temple, you get a break from the heat with the air conditioning. I did look into private cars, and one person quoted me about $30 for a day. And this person also wanted an extra $7 if we were going to do the sunrise. It's not good for someone who's by themselves. But if you have 4 people, then that breaks down to cheaper than a tuk-tuk. And you can arrange these private cars through your hotel. And finally, one way to check out the city is to take a tour. But let's talk a little bit about tours, because tours, they're a little iffy for me because 1, I like to explore by myself, and 2, depending on the combination of who you're with, you might get a really bad group or you might get a really bad tour guide. So just be careful with that. You can book tours through your accommodation, but there are also a lot of kiosks on the street that you can actually negotiate a little bit more with. I was able to lock in 2 days of tours actually. I got 1 day for $15, just a standard tour during the day. And then I also got a tour that included that Angkor Wat sunrise for $20. So basically the cost of a tuk-tuk. So I might as well have just taken a tuk-tuk because then it would have allowed me to be freer. But whatever. Typically tours are broken up in groups of 5 to 12 people, and it also includes a tour guide all day. And you can even pay for a private tour guide if you want more of a customized experience. What I like about these tours is they're actually a good way to get a lay of the land. I really didn't know anything about the geography of Angkor before I went on one of these tours, and it helped me really kind of get a sense of where everything was without me having to like figure things out on my own. And also the tour guides know all the good photo ops. Another thing that I like about these tours is that while the tour guides want to keep you on pace, they will allow you to go freely explore a temple for a certain period of time. You do get the nice benefit of having an air-conditioned vehicle between stops, but the downside of the tours, what makes me hesitate to take them, is that you are dependent on a group of people. Your experience is dependent on a group of people. So if the tour guide is awful, or people in your group are awful or disinterested or not following the rules, then your experience gets a little muddled. Also, what I don't like about tours is that there's this pressure to see things within a time frame, and for someone like me who doesn't like being pressured to do things in certain time frames and to like kind of go off and explore by myself, I didn't like that. So really quickly about my own experience with the 2 days that I have of tours. The first day was awesome. The group was okay. There were 3 guys who really had no interest in anything that the tour guide had to say and just wanted to take a ton of photos. And then there was me and this other guy from New Zealand. We loved the tour guide. He was very enthusiastic about sharing his own personal history and the history of his country. We saw a lot and I felt really good about it. The second day, though, we had an awful tour guide who did not want to be there, primarily because he didn't like, and the group was kind of weird, not a great of experiences. But I booked all of those tours all at the same time. I think that's how I got the price that I got. And it's up to you what you want to do, but that was just my experience. All right, let's talk about the best times to visit Angkor. So if you're planning your trip in advance to go to Cambodia, you're going to want to go between November and March, which is the dry season. So there's not going to be any rain and it's not going to be super, super hot. But be warned that a lot of tourists go during that time because of that reason. So that makes the best time of the day to go visit the city is the early morning. Now, the reason why I say that is although Angkor Wat is going to be slammed with tourists for that sunrise, you can visit all the other temples and no one will be there. So with no one there, you have the entire temple to yourself. You can have a photo shoot and get like the best shots with early morning light without the harshness of the sun. It sounds really amazing. I didn't actually get to do this myself, but some other YouTubers, Kara and Nate, did. And I'll link below the video that they took. I thought it was a great tip to just get there before everyone else starts leaving Angkor Wat and like slamming these temples. Now, depending on the length of time that you're going to be there, you might want to prioritize some things, especially if you have that 1 day pass. I don't think you can see everything in the city in just 1 day. I mean, I didn't even see everything and I had 3 days. You can easily be there for an entire week. So let's do a little bit of prioritization. One thing that I think you should not miss, and it is the most popular thing to see, is the sunrise over Angkor Wat. Now, this is controversial. Some people say it's not worth it, depending on like the weather and the clouds and if you can actually see the sun. But I think the attempt to go see it might be worth it. So let me tell you how you can do that. So you're going to want to leave your accommodation 2 hours before sunrise. And this ensures that you get to actually see the full transition between night and day. Also, it's a good way for you to grab a good spot. The most popular location to watch and take photos is the reflection pool on the north side of the pavilion as you enter from the main gate. But what you find when you do that is you're actually competing with a whole bunch of other tourists who don't care if they get in the way of your shot or your view. It's really not a pleasant experience from what I've heard, and that's not what I did. I had a really nice time. If you go to the reflecting pool on the south side of the pavilion, there's barely anybody there. Even if there is a whole row of tourists, no one's going to try and step in front of you. There's enough space for everybody. So this viewpoint isn't going to get you the shots of like the sun being right directly behind the towers of Angkor Wat. But if you want to then get those shots, all you have to do is walk to the other side of the pavilion, take some shots, maybe fight for a spot really quickly, and then leave the area. And then you'll get your photos and you'll be able to also have enjoyed the sunrise. I enjoyed it tremendously. I thought it was very peaceful and allowed me to just kind of chill out and relax and watch it without having to deal with stupid people, which I hate. I hate stupid people. Okay, so after you're done with the sunrise, Angkor Wat is just right there. You can just go right in and you can see the biggest temple in the entire city of Angkor. But don't get hung up on Angkor Wat because it's actually probably not the most visually interesting temple. It's just very large. So you can spend a lot of time there. I'd say if you don't have enough time to see everything, don't spend it all in Angkor Wat. From there, I think you should definitely go to Angkor Thom, which is north of Angkor Wat, and it's actually not a temple, it's actually the civic center of the city of Angkor. So Angkor Thom means big capital. Thom means big and Angkor means capital. And you'll find a lot of things there. You'll get to see the impressive city gates, which are just gorgeous. You'll get to see the Terrace of Elephants. And at the center of Angkor Thom is the Bayon, probably my favorite temple. There's a lot of nooks and crannies to see. One tip though is that when you're in the inside of the temple, don't look up. Do you hear that? Well, if you can't hear it, you can definitely smell it here. Those are bats. The bats shit and piss because that's what animals do. And if you look up, you might get some stuff in your eye, and that's a really bad idea. From there, I would say that the rest of it is just kind of up to you, depending on what you want to see. If you want to see what you think about when you think about ruins kind of being overgrown by jungle, you should definitely go see the following: Ta Prohm, Preah Khan, and Ta Sam. These temples aren't as nicely restored, and that actually gives it a very raw experience, an experience that you think that you would have when you hear about going to ancient temples. And then if you have even more time after that, go and check out some of these temples. Takeo, East Maybon, Prey Rup, where you can see the sunset. The one that I saw wasn't really the most amazing sunset I've ever seen in my life. But again, if you buy your pass after 5 p.m., it's totally free, so you might as well check it out, because when are you ever going to have the opportunity to watch a sunset on top of ruins? So okay, that's it. Those are just some of my tips. I hope those were helpful to you. If you have more tips from your own experience visiting Angkor, please leave them in the comments down below. Also, if you took video or photos while you were there, go ahead and leave links, because I'm sure people who are watching this right now want to see more of what they're going to experience. So please share. Also, if you want to see more of me, I make videos of my travels and of travel-related topics, so be sure to hit that subscribe button right down there too. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and follow me on all the social medias. Links are also down below. Everything's down below. Just go down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, get off the couch and go do great things. Bye! Guess everyone had the same idea, huh?